In 1513 BCE, the Israelites entered into a covenant relationship with God and agreed to obey his laws. That law covenant should be of great interest to all who want to worship God today because it pointed to the promised seed. Paul said it contained a shadow of the good things to come. Hebrews 10:1. When Paul made this statement, he was discussing the service of Israel's priest at a movable tabernacle or tent of worship. It was called the Temple of Jehovah or the House of Jehovah. 1 Samuel 1:9 and 24. By examining the sacred service performed at Jehovah's earthly house, we can come to appreciate more fully the merciful arrangement whereby sinful humans today can become reconciled with God. The Most Holy. The Most High does not dwell in houses made with hands, states the Bible, Acts 7:48. However, God's presence in his earthly house was represented by a cloud in the innermost compartment called the Most Holy, Leviticus 16:2. Evidently, this cloud shone brightly, provided the Most Holy with light. It was positioned above a sacred chest called the Ark of the Testimony, which contained stone tablets engraved with some of the commands that God gave Israel. On the cover of the ark were two golden cherubs with outstretched wings, which pictured spirit creatures of high rank in God's heavenly organization. The miraculous cloud of light was situated above the cover and between the cherubs. Exodus 25:22. This was pictorial of Almighty God enthroned upon a heavenly chariot supported by living cherubs. 1 Chronicles 28:18. It explains why King Hezekiah prayed, O Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel, sitting upon the cherubs. Isaiah 37:16. The Holy. The second compartment of the tabernacle was called the Holy. Inside this section, to the left of the entrance, stood a beautiful 7-branch lampstand, and on the right was a table of showbread. Straight ahead stood an altar from which the aroma of burning incense ascended. It was situated in front of a curtain that separated the holy from the most holy. Every morning and every evening, a priest had to enter the tabernacle and burn incense on the altar of incense. Exodus 30:7 and 8. In the morning, while the incense burned, the 7 lamps that rested upon the golden lampstand had to be replenished with oil. In the evening, the lamps were lit to provide light for the holy. Every Sabbath, a priest had to place 12 fresh loaves on the table of showbread. Leviticus 24:4-8. The courtyard. The tabernacle also had a courtyard surrounded by a fence of tent cloths. In this courtyard was a large basin where the priests washed their hands and feet before entering the holy. They also had to wash before offering sacrifices on the altar that was situated in the courtyard. Exodus 30:18-21. This requirement of cleanliness is a strong reminder to God's servants today that they must strive for physical, moral, mental, and spiritual purity if they want their worship to be acceptable to God. 2 Corinthians 7:1. In time, the wood for the fire on the altar and the water for the basin were supplied by non-Israelite temple slaves. Joshua 9:27. Every morning and every evening, a young sacrificial ram was burned on the altar along with a grain and drink offering. Exodus 29:38-41. Other sacrifices were made on special days. Sometimes a sacrifice had to be made because of a specific personal sin. Leviticus 5:5-6. At other times, an Israelite could offer a voluntary communion sacrifice in which portions were eaten by the priest and by the one who made the offering. This denoted that human sinners could have peace with God, enjoying a meal with him, as it were. Even an alien resident could become a worshiper of Jehovah and be privileged to present voluntary offerings at his house. But in order to show due honor to Jehovah, the priest could only accept offerings of the best quality. The flour of grain offerings had to be finely ground, and animals for sacrifices had to be without any defect. Leviticus 2:1, chapter 22, 18 through 20, and Malachi 1, verses 6 through 8.